quick word association. Name the first words that come to mind when you see this scene. Busy, active, noise. That's what most people say. But see, the British writer G.K. Chesterton had another word for this scene. Lazy. How do you figure? It seems kind of a strange word. Well, here was his reasoning. He said that even though it seems like there's a lot going on, there's a lot of activity, people are moving, the reality is, in that scene we just saw, most of the people there are being moved. They're in cabs. They're not walking anywhere. They're just sitting down. It has the appearance of bustle and noise, but in reality, people aren't doing a whole lot. But now think of a peaceful country town. You hear a cool breeze rustling through the leaves, maybe some birds chirping. It's very, very quiet. And yet, all that quiet is actually disguising something. Everyone there is walking. They're moving. There's a lot of activity. It's quiet, it's hushed, but people are sweating in the sun. Well, the reason Chesterton talked about this is he says it's a good metaphor for writing. Busy, active, noisy writing. Think of things you read that have a lot of words, a lot of jargon. They take up a lot of space. They seem very sophisticated. Often that type of writing is actually easier writing. It's lazier writing. And by contrast, sometimes the most difficult writing, the most rigorous thinking occurs when you're boiling it down to something pithy, few words, keeping it simple. For instance, you could say, in our recent analysis of office expenditures, we found that ink supplies related to the C100 have grown excessively. Or you could say, we spend too much on printer ink. The second is not only simpler and pithier, but in many cases it's actually harder to write. You're forcing those ideas to kind of stand in the daylight more. And so sometimes it can take longer to do it. But see, as readers, we appreciate the second example a lot more than we appreciate the first. So why is it that so much business writing sounds like the first as opposed to the second? The thing is, you can actually often disguise that you don't know enough about something by simply using a lot of words. So let me give you an example. I know absolutely nothing about the sport of fencing. Nothing at all. So if somebody came to me and said, how does fencing work? How does the scoring system work for it? I could say, not knowing anything, well, you see, it's actually a great question. The sport has for years upheld a system for awarding points in which each participant garners credit for displaying a combination of mechanical technique and an ability to evade the ostensible strike attempts of the opponent with grace and consistency. After accounting for these factors, ultimately the winner is determined by the judgments of the official or officials responsible for fencing evaluations. It's meaningless. But see, I'm making it more difficult for you as the reader to determine that by just flooding you, by overwhelming you with a lot of words. I'm trying to sound sophisticated, but I'm disguising that I don't know the idea as sharply and as clearly as I should. So what's the antidote to this? Cut, cut, cut. Everything you write, all the time. One of the best English teachers I ever had said that whether you're writing a 70-page thesis or a 2-line email, always challenge yourself to go back after that first draft and chop off at least 25% of the words. Count them up and chop off a quarter. Here's an example. Recently I spoke with Joni and she said she wanted to see the investment results by next Thursday. Please advise whether or not that is feasible. It's not a terrible email. In fact, it's something you or I would probably write in a given day. But see, if you take that time to challenge yourself to really cut it, to take at least 25% off, it might sound something more like this. David, Joni wants to see the investment results by next Thursday. Is that feasible? This is so important because in our business world, people are busy. And if they see an email that has 17 paragraphs stacked on top of one another, they're going to tune out. So one of the best ways you can show sympathy for your readers is by doing just this. Take the time yourself to cut it down. Now, how do you know if you've chopped enough? Well, one of the best professors I ever had in journalism school once said that anytime we write a sentence or a phrase or a word that we're particularly proud of because we think it's clever or cute or has kind of a $10 word to it, she called those kittens. Then she proceeded to tell us to drown our kittens. Now, it's a horrific image, I know, and so with apologies to all cat lovers, my wife included, that image has always stuck with me because what it's shown, what it does is it's reinforced that editing is a ruthless, difficult process. These are hard-earned words that you've put on the page. You're proud of them. You want people to see how sophisticated they are. But the reality is that often doesn't show sympathy to your reader. Get rid of them. The essence of good writing is that it's as concise as it needs to be. Now, parting with those words is hard. It may be the hardest thing to do in writing. Do it anyways.